Yep, that's the recording. Die pakkie is
Okay,
daar.
we started recording. Maybe Tracy set it to auto record. She's also late, so she will be joining in a bit. But for those that have joined early, people usually show up between now and 1:45. So thanks for joining us. Is this session 9?
This is session 9.
Session 9.
I still have to upload session 8's recording, which we have somewhere, right?
We do have it, yes.
Yeah,
and
I've
I'm
got
still
a-
waiting for the presentation.
From someone on this call?
From
possibly?
someone on this call.
Okay.
He's
I
pointed
don't
this
feel-
way on
I
my
don't
chat.
feel
Yeah.
that bad anymore. So for those on the call that have been following Copilot religiously since it's been launched, have you seen App Builder that was deployed last week?
It doesn't look like they have. As
A
well as
thumbs up or a
Workflow
thumbs down?
Frontier.
I haven't even seen it really.
Have you heard about App Builder, I suppose, maybe is the question.
You're gonna have to show it, Al. You're gonna have to show it.
Yes.
Okay, it seems to have heard of it.
So I've been rickrolled by App Builder. I'll show you what happened. So myself and a friend of mine, Kevin McDonald in the UK, we were chatting because App Builder landed. You've got to deploy it. You've got to switch it on and because it will show up, but you have to deploy it, and then you can
You have
decide
to
who
deploy
gets
it to the admin center, yeah.
Well,
I'm glad you guys had that conversation because I had no idea where to find it. And I was like, oh, there we go.
And then Kevin pinged me separately outside of that chat because the things we had to say about App Builder, we didn't want to negatively persuade people in the other chat and the other two chats about our experiences with. And then you know what Kevin's like. Kevin's like, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried this? It's over there. It's rubbish. And then I was like, no worries, dude. Check what happened to me. We laughed for about an hour.
I'm sure.
Oh, it was great. It was great. But yeah, so Copilot, M365 Copilot App Builder. I don't even know what it's called. It's called an App Builder agent. That's what it's called. It's an App Builder agent.
It's an App Builder agent, yeah. And it's part of the Frontier agents that's been launched.
Yeah.
So some of the people would see the skills Frontier. Those are just some of the frontiers that's available. But the App Builder ones and the workflow ones they need to deploy, like you and Kev.
Yeah. So the Frontier program, if you go back to, I think it's May this year, Microsoft launched the, what is it called? What was it? The Work Product Index, something index.
Work Trend Index.
The Work Trend Index. And the Work Trend Index is where Microsoft does a study across 1,000, 2,000 organizations and asked a bunch of questions. And it's also where the term agent boss comes from. And there's a really interesting story behind agent bosses. And, Microsoft believes that everyone is going to become an agent boss. So instead of managing people, you're going to be managing agents. So if you did manage people, you didn't manage people, you manage processes. You're now going to manage agents that's going to run these processes for you. So you're going to become an agent boss. But at the same time, what they did was they launched the concept of a frontier firm. So what a frontier firm is, it's a company that starts now that instead of hiring a bunch of people, they start looking at how they can do agentic things and use that to run processes inside of so AI first.
That's interesting.
Is what Microsoft terms a frontier firm. Right? Now, I think, Jason, I'm not 100% sure if there's a barrier to entry. You need to have X amount of Copilot licenses in order to qualify for the frontier features. I think there was a ceiling somewhere. I don't know if it's like 25 seats or something.
Honestly,
I can't remember. I think it is 25 seats because I've got 25 seats in my Copilot, my demo tenant, my MVP tenant, and I've got frontier features enabled. So I can't remember if it is. There's a minimum threshold before frontier features come up. Now, there's a couple of reasons Microsoft calls it frontier firm or frontier features. It's because it's bleeding edge.
Oh.
Right? They will. I don't think I've read any articles around it that says don't use it in production. But we used to have. There's a couple of programs you would get that. You could sign up as a. I think it was called a TAP, Technology Acceptance Partner, or there's a community program that supports it where customers and partners could sign up to participate in sort of private preview functionality inside of Microsoft, be it in Azure or inside of Microsoft 365. And they've just made this whole concept of beta products more accessible through frontier features like Analyst and the Researcher Agent. Those were the two ones that, or the two functions, the two bits of productivity enablement inside of the Copilot ecosystem that they actually launched, so that customers can start working with sort of bleeding edge technology, where Microsoft is not going to be held to an SLA around that. So it's important to understand what is frontier, what is not frontier.
Yeah.
Everything else that doesn't say frontier, I mean, if you look at the agent store, it'll literally say frontier. That's bleeding edge. Don't expect it to work every single time until it sort of stabilizes. We don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like when Microsoft says, okay, in the old days we had, hey, this is in public preview. You can test it out. It'll say preview, in brackets after the name of the product. And then eventually those brackets disappear and it becomes generally available, or it's busy being rolled out. Or, with Frontier, I don't know enough about it. I haven't looked to understand what that. When is Frontier not bleeding edge, right?
Yeah.
Kind of trying to find that balance.
I can tell you that, Ali, when it's Van Gogh.
Yeah, it's just that easy cop out to say, oh, we've run out of capacity in the European data center, and that's why agents don't work, right? So that also happens. It's probably Microsoft's way of saying, hey, sorry, we didn't buy enough GPUs this month. Well, AI CPUs, not GPUs. Gone are the days. Everything's baked with AI. Okay, we're going to give it a minute or two. I see UG Admin has shown up. Thank you for joining us tonight. Is she going to say anything?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I just, I've got a jigsaw in my hands. So, oh, there we are. Hello.
Oh, wow. A proper
I want to quickly,
I
I want to
you meant
saw
a
a table
jigsaw
before my
puzzle.
neighbor screams at me. What?
But you meant a jigsaw puzzle.
No, Jason, I'm the jigsaw real thing girl. Okay, what's happening?
We have been having conversations with IT, Tracy. We don't typically wait for you to show up and then speak. So we've been talking about quite a few things.
Oh, I have been listening to you. I've been here for a while.
Right.
Yes, that day. When I miss my family, I just join one of these calls. Terrible people.
Okay. All right.
I don't, yeah.
Any
I'm going to go
statements?
on mute because I'm going to start my jigsaw, so I'm going to just go on mute, okay?
Okay.
Right.
That's an excuse not to participate, right?
But I
No,
think
but you
we're
guys
not
are talking about very clever stuff tonight. I can't contribute to that.
What are we talking about anyway? All right.
we talk about rolling out Copilot chats.
Yes.
And
rolling out Copilot
yeah,
chat.
I just wanted to say that I think like this concept of the frontier firm actually applies to Copilot chats as well. Like a lot of the customers, I think, are testing out Copilot chat before deciding which personas get the full license. So I think it's actually a good kind of intro that we're talking about, like release previews and the software development lifecycle, and being on the bleeding edge versus rolling it out slowly. What are the pros? What are the cons? It's a great angle, actually.
Look, there's a couple of things before we jump into the session. And Microsoft had to backtrack and fix Copilot Chat because you broke it when you launched it, right? It was literally broken. The little icon that indicated that everyone who has an M365 Copilot license, the icon will show up in the ribbon. Now, all of a sudden, the chat icon showed up in that ribbon. And when do you know when it's a chat and when it actually performs? And now they've got a new thing that says, premium features enabled for this account or something like that. I'll have to look at what it actually says when you click on the chat interface. Actually, I want to see what it says. Hold on, blank presentation. If I click on it, what does it say? And it's all kinds of confusing all the time, right? Come on, load now. You're going to load? Yes. Need insights? Show me that. You have premium Copilot features enabled. All right.
Nice.
That's now what it says versus the chat, the one without premium Copilot. You're using Copilot with standard access. Right, so straight off the bat, if you want to know what the differences are between Copilot Chat and M365 Copilot Chat, it's probably the easiest way to identify that. Anyhow, welcome to Copilot Zero to Hero, where we go from confused to more confused. I can't remember what that was. From curious to confident. I think that was the phrase that pays around what we actually do with Copilot all up. And there's a delineation. When I say Copilot, I'm talking about the Copilot ecosystem. And there are things that make Copilots different from other Copilots, not to be confused with agents. For those that are new, thank you for joining us today. We are in session 9. So there are 7 uploaded sessions to the YouTube channel Copilot Zero to Hero. If you want to go and peruse that and sort of catch up, or there might be a topic that tickles your fancy, you can go have a look at the recorded sessions over the last 17 weeks. Is it 17? This is week 18, right?
Yeah.
After we record this, we'll upload it. The last recordings are now available to you on the YouTube channel. We've also got a GitHub repo where you can download all the slide decks if you want to work through that. And I think the first couple of sessions, there was some homework, some things for you to try as you embark on this journey to really understand what Copilot means, the essence of Copilot, and the construct behind Copilot. Like in the Matrix, you have the architect and things like this. This is very matrixy. So we hope that you go and spend some time having a look through all the content that we've produced over the last 18 weeks, 17 and a bit weeks. We're in week 18. And we've been told by the producers that we have been renewed for season 2 of Copilot Zero to Hero, / agentic flavor. And we'll be probably making announcements at this is the penultimate session. So at episode 10, I'm going to start calling it episode 10 of season 1. We'll make some announcements around the new program where we help you sort of adopt agents inside of your organization. Although the lines are blurred between what is an agent and what is a Copilot, very messy. Because in essence, everything's an agent. Microsoft marketing room, the naming conventions. So let's talk about rolling out Copilot Chat. Working with the team, thinking about, well, what are we actually going to do for this session? I mean, it's fairly rudimentary, and are we going to bake some slides? And yesterday I decided that I'm going to show up to present this session with no slides. But in true Copilot fashion, I'm walking a prompt into the room, and let's see what we can do. Can Copilot describe Copilot? I was very interested in if that was even possible. Can Copilot describe Copilot? So today's session is about rolling out Copilot Chat. Understanding Copilot Chat, number 1, right? So what is the differences between Copilot Chat and Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat? Because the interface looks practically identical. How to switch that on for users, because it's not just about making sure that you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. In the previous sessions, we talked about who gets what, when, and how. And also, we're going to look at some of the best practices for introducing chat. And I don't think we need much encouragement to talk to people people about, hey, do you know what ChatGPT is? If you know what that is, when you got a Copilot, it's the same interface, it's just got a different brand on it, right?
Yep.
And coming soon to a Copilot license near you is the Anthropic models, Jace, if memory serves. I don't know when they're rolling that out, but you'll now be able to use Anthropic instead of OpenAI in your stuff, because right now the GPT-5 environment has been switched on. It's been there for about a month. You can try GPT-5. Massive difference between GPT-4 and GPT-5 when it comes to logic and the semantics behind it around how it actually produces information. Go over to YouTube and look at some content creators compare building Tetris in GPT-4 versus building Tetris in GPT-5. Massive leap forward in deductive reasoning and the polished part of it. So we're hoping that by GPT-20, they will just be shooting laser beams into our brains, or tapping into our cerebral cortex like in Strange Days. Was it Strange Days? Strangest Days? Strange Days? Strange Days. Daniel Day-Lewis. You wear this little thing and it fries your brain, cerebral cortex. All right. So let's jump into what this session is going to be. This is very much like scenes from a hat in Whose Line Is It Anyway? But let's just go with that. All right. So I want to share a desktop. Is that the one that I want to share? Yes. All right. So let me know once you've seen my desktop. Just going to minimize all of these things. So this is a Windows desktop. I can't see the desktop, so I'm going to sit
We
down.
can see the
You
desktop.
can see
Okay.
it.
So let's start with what this prompt is going to look like. Unashamedly, I've been using Perplexity, the paid-for version, since the beginning of time. And that is my favorite AI companion. Sorry, Jace. So what I did with Perplexity, I said, hey, I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant. Give it some understanding and context. So that's the expertise. I need to prepare a 45-minute presentation on rolling out, and then the presentation needs to cater for the following. Right? That's it. Very rudimentary prompt, and it gave me some information. But I don't want to do that here. I want to take this as a licensed M365 Copilot user, and I actually want to open File, create with Copilot, and now I'm going to give it a description. There, paste it. 848 words, not bad, right? So, and I'm going to hit the button, and let's see what it actually generates. So while it's doing this, showing you the differences between straight off the bat, like I mentioned earlier on, if you look at a Copilot chat, one that's free, same experience. You've got the button on the side here. The easiest way for an end user to check if they've got a Copilot license or this is just a Copilot chat, hit the button in any app, and at the bottom it will say, you're using Copilot with standard access. That means contextually, you can open up a document and you can ask Copilot about the document, right? The contextual stuff around everything that's open in the canvas. I call this the canvas. You can't reference an external document or anything like that. You're literally just talking to the canvas, and you can say, well, here's a 47-page document, summarize the document. And it will do that. But you can't glue things together from a functionality perspective. But we are hoping that Copilot is actually going to define all of these things for us, because we asked what is the differences between Copilot Chat and Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Now, to confuse you even more, I'm going to drag this out the way, and it's building slides. And I'm going to say generate slides. That's perfectly fine. So now it's going to smash on some slides. When we look at Copilot, the ecosystem, right, there's a couple of ways to interact with Copilot. We know that we can go straight to, this is a licensed user. So if I go to search or to chat, this is a licensed user. There's a few things that you'll see. Have I switched on? There's GPT-5. I'm going to hit that slider. So now GPT-5 is on. And you'll notice there's things down the side like notebooks. The create button is also different. Pages you should have in the the free version. But there is a difference. Now, this is the web interface that Microsoft updated ages ago when you used to go to portal.office.com or Microsoft365.com. It now redirects you to this. It's the myriad of issues that the world has with them just randomly changing URLs so that they can promote AI. We're not even going to debate that today. So to understand the difference, right? Copilot Chat, Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, looks the same, kind of smells the same, does different things, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. To complicate things even more, like we used to have Skype for Business and Skype Consumer, you have the same versions of Copilot, the app. Right? You've got the M360, well, there's actually, you can download the Copilot app from the interface here, which is pretty much the same and is the Windows 11 Microsoft 365 Copilot, or it's weird, it changes faces. But you've got the commercial version of Copilot, right, the app, and then you've got the consumer version of Copilot that actually gets installed out of the Microsoft Store that lives in Windows 11. Not to be confused with the Copilot app that ships with Windows 11, that little button. So if you look in my taskbar, there's two buttons that look like Copilot icon, right? If I launch this one, let me just minimize this because this is a browser. Let me just minimize everything. So if I look at this one, typically, this is the one that ships with Windows 11, and if you log in with your organizational details, it updates. There we go, right? That is pretty much identical to that. Same user experience, right? This is an app though. Now, the free version, now if you log in with your credentials into this version that ships with Windows 11, not a Microsoft Store app, and you log in with your organizational data, it will give you that sort of data boundary and that data restriction for the free Copilot chat. You won't get all the premium features that ship with an M365 Copilot license. That doesn't show up. However, if I click on this little one, this is the Skype consumer version of Skype for Business, right? It says Copilot, doesn't say M365 Copilot. So, I can do stuff here. This is the free version. You need to log in with some form of account, like a Hotmail or a Gmail account. You need an MSA account for that. This one I'm logged in with, I think, my Hotmail account. Yeah. And there are updates when you start looking at the mobile app where you can talk to it. It's been like that since the beginning of time. But normally what we recommend the customers do, and we've done this with other apps that we don't want, like a WhatsApp desktop app, we don't want running in organizations' environments. So we silently, autopilot, Intune, there's a policy that says, go and uninstall that application. We remove this one. So further down in the session, we talk about, best practices. If this is an organization, so you're logging into your company's M365 environment and that desktop is managed by the organization, we recommend that you silently remove this because it's massively confusing for everyone because the icon looks the same. The other one just says M365 on, right? So where am I logging in and what am I logging into and onto and what am I using? So definitely from a rollout perspective recommendation, silently uninstall, speak to your endpoint management people in your business. Say, hey, have you got an Intune policy that will remove, I can't remember the actual application ID or the app name. Typically, we just remove the entire Microsoft Store straight off the bat when we provision a desktop. All right. So now we kind of understand that there's Copilot Chat, the free version. You get some features. There's M365 Copilot, and the important part is it's the M365 in Copilot. And then also understand from a desktop environment perspective that there is, like Skype for Business and Skype Consumer, two separate Copilot apps. Now you can use the free chat one from M365 Copilot inside of the Windows 11 app that gets deployed when you install Windows. You can log in with your corporate credentials, and it's going to give you the free chat experience. that same user can be assigned an M365 Copilot license, and it enables all the premium features for that. Make sense? Okay, so let's see what Copilot actually has to say about Copilot. All right, I suppose I can do full screen on this. Okay. And this is not bad. I'm not a big fan of, you can bring your own templates. However, if you want to use templates, it's got to be slide master stuff. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You can't upload, and I tried this, I can't upload a slide that I wanted to use when creating another slide. You can select from your organizational data, but it has to be slide master slides, not layouts and things. I will download a 170 slide template from Envato, and I use those layouts. This won't do that. So let's have a look at the effective rollout of Microsoft Copilot, the free version, and Microsoft 365 Copilot and that experiences. So what are we going to look at today? Understanding the differences. We kind of talked a little bit about that. The key differences between that, comparing the chat experiences across platforms, how to switch these things on, because there's an administrative function to all of this. It's in the M365 Admin Center. I'll show you what that looks like. Specifically Copilot functionality inside of applications, because chat is not created equal. And then also going through some sort of decision tree around how do you determine whether or not a user needs a full Copilot license, not a free Copilot license. And that's how I'm going to determine the difference. Paid for, full, free. And then also, you know, what you need to do from a best practices perspective when you roll this out. Now, caveat here. The shut is switched on by default, man. It just shows up, right? So, unfortunately, this is not a Linux operating system where everything is not deployed. For the most part, everything is deployed, and your users wake up one morning and the icon's there. Massively, massively worrying and disturbing for, you know, support desk getting a call saying, hey, what am I doing? You know, people losing their minds because the one's got a Copilot license, the other one's got the free version, and the experience is different, and you know, the corridor talk and the water cooler conversations are different. So, you know, big thing, determining the user needs, and then also how do we switch this on? How do we have a phased rollout for Copilot Chat and the paid for version, premium versus standard, and what that actually looks like when we actually go through. So let's see what Copilot says about. It feels like I'm cheating the system here, man, because I got Copilot to build the slides. Caveat: I've done this before. To make sure that it's actually going to do that, let me just qualify that. I might be crazy, but I'm not batshit crazy. And I also have a slide deck that supports this. But I had to test the waters, right? And you saw this in real time, right? We can edit that out of the recording, which is okay. So, yes, and I don't necessarily like the wording. When you look at the free version of Copilot, it's exactly like ChatGPT, but with the added benefit of having the security guardrails and the data boundary of everything that you do with the free or the paid for version remains inside of the context of your tenant. Unlike every other product that gives you GPT-like experiences. And this is where I think Microsoft's going to win the AI war. I use Perplexity. I upload a document to Perplexity. It goes, I'm sorry, I'll happily take your document, but I don't know. I haven't read the fine print to find out if Perplexity is training their models against my data and what that looks like. So Microsoft's claim to fame and their story to date is we protect your organizational data from data leaks. Whereas there's no guarantee that Gemini or whoever else, Claude, whatever other, I mean, I use Perplexity. I don't throw organizational data at it. You know, I use it as an assistant. But think about the world that you live in today. You get AI inside of WhatsApp. So I'm sure I can upload a PDF and say, summarize the document for me. Where does the data go to? Does anyone have an answer, conclusive answer?
Nope. I don't.
So from an organizational perspective, it's vitally important that you understand the security guardrails that ship with Copilot. And your best bet to protect intellectual property inside of your organization is to make sure that your users are using Copilot, be the free or the paid for version, to do stuff, right? And yes, the other bit of that, it's integrated. We know that Gemini and a few other tools are now saying, well, like with all other tools, you can connect to your to Office 365. You can stick it in Word, PowerPoint, Excel. It's still extracting that data outside of the data boundary that is your Microsoft 365 tenant. So already Microsoft is winning the war here around data security because it lives inside of that, and also no additional cost to do. So, the paid for version, all of that plus more things, right? So better reasoning, more memory, more personalization. Also, it can do things, and if we look at, they talk about enterprise data visualization. I don't know what that means. What is it even saying? That doesn't make any sense. This thing I wonder if AI still hallucinates. So when we jump into the differences between chat, I'm actually going to do that right now because I can show you. So if we look at organizational data, so I'm just going to create another slide deck and we look at integration. So blank presentation, right? Now the difference between Copilot Chat, the free version, and Copilot, we talked about all these new more integrated features and enterprise-grade AI. That is a licensed user that actually has a Copilot license. So you've got this nice little, I don't know what you'd call this icon that follows you around everywhere. It's in Word, it's in PowerPoint, it's in Outlook. So chat users won't get that. They get this. This is what they have. So let's just try that. So just key points, brainstorm topics for presentation on and this is the free version.
Yes, this reminds me of that session I had as to all the things I don't like about Copilot.
Yes. All right. So here's slide title. Okay. I've not tried this before.
So Al, that icon that you're referring to in the paid version,
Yes,
is going to be called the agent mode or app skills. There seems to be two terms that are floating around.
So you broke it. Hold on, let's see. Analysis. Oh, well, that starts thinking. So when Microsoft introduced the free version of Copilot showing up in all of your enterprise apps, your M365 apps, what they used to have is, I'm just going to go back to the paid for version. They introduced this drop down that said, and I think it's still in Excel. Let's just look in Excel. That literally broke everything because they abstracted the chat, which you now get that full fidelity chat experience. Let me just open this. Yeah, you see you still got a drop down here where it says chat and app skills, right? It's in Excel. And they introduced that sort of functionality where they abstracted the chat interface from the agent or the agentic interface where it would perform functions. And then they removed it and they left it inside of Excel. But is it this one? No, where's that? That's on my desktop. Okay. What is it done? Is it going to create the slide deck for me? It won't create the slides.
It'll only help you with research. It'll only help you like search the internet or.
So that's the skills part of the license, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you can try and trick it. It's not going to build a PowerPoint presentation the way it did with me, right? You also notice that it says new slide. It doesn't say new slide from Copilot, whereas with the With the paid for version, you've got a new slide with Copilot and you've got all of that. So I can say create a new presentation and it's going to give me that same interface. About Swiss chocolate. And I call it the canvas interface or whatever we're calling it today, whatever it's going to be called tomorrow. The next day it's going to change. You don't get this sort of functionality where it's got, and I think Excel's got a great name for it, app skills, because you're in an application and you can use it from a skilling perspective to perform functions inside of the application that you're in. The free version, however, I could, let me open up a slide here. Let me see if I can get a slide. See if I can open up this one. Oh, it's going to download it quickly. It should be fast. So I'm going to open up a slide deck that talks about Microsoft Purview information protection. If I click on this button, I should be able to ask Copilot questions like this. Summarize this presentation. Yeah. So this is the freemium version, well, the free version of Copilot Chat. I can interrogate within the context of what's open. I can ask it questions. And in this case, there's 57 slides, so I'm asking it to summarize what this deck is about. Boom. Easy all day. There we go. So instead of paging, well, that's a lot of information. I want to see that. Create a visual summary slide. No, that's the slide deck. Yes, I want a visual summary. Oh, I need to hit that button. Will it actually create a slide? See if I can, or is it going to like just give me text that I can export to Word or PDF?
I did that earlier on today where it just didn't give me the slides. It kept on giving me text.
Okay, so
But
hi Tracy, welcome.
I've been here the whole time and mostly in spirit.
Cheers. Exactly. All right, so understand the subtle nuances between the full version and the free version. This is just one application, and we talked about contextually based awareness when it comes to what it does. I think Excel accurately defines the differences in the chat interface, because I can click on the chat interface and you will get the same chat experience. You've got it's either pulling from work or web. And this is when I say it's bringing in the chat experience. This is also confusing. So what? Am I going to now use the research? I can't click on it. It does nothing. This is the paid for version. It does nothing. What does this even mean? Okay, there it eventually did something. Okay, so now I'm pulling in an agent with the full-blown Microsoft 365 Copilot license. I'm pulling an agent in. Now the researcher and the analytics agent would work nicely inside of Excel. If I had a document with 300,000 rows, I can analyze it in the context of the document and not upload the document into the context of the analytics agent that lives inside of Copilot Chat, right? Well, not
So
Copilot Chat, the chat URL, right?
You'll be able to use some of these agents in the doc that you're working in, which is quite cool. So like if you had some data in here and you were chatting with the analyst agents, it will give you responses based on that data that's right there.
Yeah.
So that's quite a cool, quite a cool use case. But
look,
it is a bit too complicated at this stage. Like there's too many options.
Correct. You're going to confuse the bejeebus out of end users, where they now have this little thing that you can click on, and where's it gone now? It's gone. We close that. Click on that. Does it come back? Is it back? Is it going to render? We don't know. And this is not me bashing the product. Don't get me wrong. I think this product is going to win the war. I just think that this experience is going to frustrate users. And that's the tricky part of all of this, right? So also understand what you're going to be exposing your users to, and you need to qualify everything when you give them access to all of these things. All right, let's go back to, and they generated the slides for the chocolates, right? I think there's about 9 slides that it's going to generate. So let's go back to what we were. Okay, it won't. Come on, give me the other slide, please. Okay, so I suppose we have to wait for Copilot to finish. Look, it's not bad. This is great. I mean, you can go buy platforms like Gamma and a few others that cost you $20 a month, and it generates slides, better looking slides than this, but I'm going to keep that. It's kind of the same thing. So where would we leave off? If I open that again, will it go there? Yes, we spoke about that. We spoke of the differences. The paid for version we also started looking at. And both give you that intelligent GPT-like experience. Ask it questions, and you saw there was a toggle between the two that says work or web, or a combination of both, where I can search work data and web data at the same time to give me a conclusive set of results. I'll show you what that looks like inside of, and what do we call it now? Because now they're saying this is chat, and when they launched m365.cloud.microsoft/chat, that was the chat. So can the real chat please stand up? You've got chat that lives inside of applications. You've got the official enterprise chat. That's the free version. And then you've got the enterprise chat, like an iPhone 17 Pro Max Ultra Plus, right? Same, right? Same applies here. Very confusing. Also, you know, they both have some level of contextual understanding, except one is limited to the canvas, the application that you're living in. You can ask it to do summaries and things like that. Right. So when we start looking at the key differences, and we already went through this, license requirements, one is free, it's available to everyone. Everyone in your organization has a GPT. And that GPT will work inside of the applications that they live in. Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook. Free. You can give it to them today, right? And they can start literally asking ChatGPT, well, not ChatGPT, Copilot, the GPT part of Copilot, questions about content, right? They can do that. The other one, you have to buy a license and switch a whole bunch of things on. And the other one allows you to do cool shit, right? So yes, we talked about this, deep integration. We've also talked about the generic AI assistance that you get contextually. You can't smash things together and look at a whole bunch of things. We've also talked about the security compliance and the privacy side of things. And we believe that if you are going to use GPT, like things inside of your organization, try to get your users to use the free Copilot chat instead of using any other AI, because there's no guarantee that from a data security posture management perspective, it is actually beneficial. You don't know where Anthropic is taking your data to, or Grok, or, you know, pick a Claude, pick something, right? It doesn't really matter, because they don't have the myriad of compliance standards that Microsoft subscribed to or is compliant in, which is over 100 today. So let's have a look at we've already started looking at the chat experiences. We've seen how chat will give you some sort of generic generative AI. You know, we talk about enterprise workflow integration. These slides are not great. They're repeating the same thing over and over. And we've also talked about the browser-based versus the Windows 11 chat experience. I'm going to, you know, delve into this. That did not mention the one that ships inside of the Microsoft Store, the sort of consumer version of Copilot, not Microsoft 365 Copilot. They're still talking about the free Copilot chat. User interface, richer, contextual. Okay, I'm getting tired of these sorts of slides. I'm going to jump out of this. So let's have a look at what's under the bonnet. When your organization, it doesn't matter when, your organization already has Copilot switched on, whether you like it or not. I am going to, let me do this. I want to check something. I've got a brand new tenant. We just log into it. And it's a business premium tenant, or business, I think it's a business premium tenant. I want to check something. Hold on. Jason, is Copilot the free chat version? No, it's not. It's
So
a
you
brand new
have,
tenant. This tenant's a week old.
yeah, so like you said, you've got the consumer version. That's really for students at home life. Those are not the right tools for work or work environments or enterprise environments.
Oh. So
Um,
my question was more around, you can see my screen, right?
it's it now, yeah.
Okay, all right. This is a brand new tenant. I spun this tenant up Friday. Was it Friday? I can't remember. It's a week old, right? Brand new tenant. This, from a license perspective, I just want to see what licensing is in this tenant. Business standard license. It comes with Copilot. There it is, free. I haven't configured anything. Doesn't matter if you're on a business license or an enterprise license, this shows up. Now let me show you what an enterprise license looks like. I need to move this out the way. Yeah, where's my remote desktop? So let's have a look at what the enterprise license looks like. If I go to the admin center here, so we've qualified that if you spin up a tenant today, Copilot Chat is there by default. Literally by default. When you actually look at going through, that's just going to log in. Give me that one. Okay, and now I'm going to show you the differences between this. Okay, so this is what you're going to get, right? User access, how do you switch these things on? Now we talk about making sure that, specific applications, specifically Copilot Chat, can you pin Copilot Chat? And it's one of the things that Jason said right in the beginning, tell everyone to pin it everywhere. Because that's what you want. So yeah, I'm going to switch on by default, pin the Copilot Chat in Microsoft 365 apps. Boom, it's there. Now you can remove that, right? If I say do not pin, but by default, this shit is switched on. It is on by default. Remember that, okay? So making the chat available to Microsoft 365 apps, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook. Those are the 4 primary ones. It is available. Your users that before this decided to show up, right, never saw it, and then when Microsoft switched it on, they rolled it out, and chances are your user who doesn't know anything about Copilot is opening up Word, and they're going to see the Copilot icon in the top right-hand corner and go, ooh, I can have GPT, right? So the first thing you want to do is decide whether or not you want to switch this functionality on for all users. The only difference between the free version and the licensed version, it's literally going to tell you, hey, if I click on it, it's going to come up and say, you have the premium Copilot features enabled, and then all the weird and wonderful things happen. It's not just about interrogating content that's living inside of that session state with that application. Because now I can do more than just ask it questions about the document, summarize it, and a few other things. So when we look at, I'm actually going to go back to that one. Where are you? So these are some of the functions that you have. Copilot in Bing, Edge, and Windows. You can do, and obviously I don't have that functionality here. Commercial data protection because I don't have a license. Copilot in Edge. I can go to the settings page for Edge and it'll take you to, is it going to go to my config? No. Policies for Edge, right? So you can set this policy up so that Copilot's now available to you inside of Edge, which is the Bing chat experience of yesteryear. You can create a configuration policy that says, hey, make chat available in, well, not to be, I don't even know what the right term is anymore because chat's now available in various forms. It's like a magician. It shows up today as an iguana. Tomorrow it's going to show up as an alpaca. And eventually it will show up as a panda, right? Because we don't know what to classify or categorize the chat now. Because, the chat just gets used indiscriminately across wherever it shows up. It's the chat, man. Let's go with the chat, right? So you can create a policy to make this available inside of Edge. And I'm not going to talk too much about the pay-as-you-go billing. That's separate. That's for the agentic side of things when you're actually building agents and a whole bunch of other things which we're not going to talk about. Self-service purchases, we're not going to switch on. Brand new tenant, right? Data access. straight off the bat, you can go and have a look at what Agents does. Also quite scary. It's available for all users, and there's free agents that's available to the free version of chat. And those are all the coaches that you would typically see inside of, this is the other one. So if I look at, actually, let's just see if this works. If I go to, okay, brand new tenant, I haven't switched on anything, right? Brand new tenant. Sign in, no M365 Copilot licenses. This is a great litmus test. It's fine. Okay, I'll switch that on. And also you'll notice that you don't have the switch here between work and web. There are subtle differences when you actually look at these settings over here. And we're still trying to figure out what this update button does. We're not 100% sure, but look at the version. It still talks about burst chat, which is hilarious. Now, what you'll notice is I can explore agents. And the fact that that shows up without the license, but I mean, I can go and I can hit this. I can say add. And this is what people have for free Mahala, right? Is it doing something? Yes, there we go. Help me generate a good Copilot prompt. So there's a lot of the exclusive premium features that now, not that it was only available, but they are giving it to you as part of that free license. So really, how do you draw a decision tree for everyone's going to get the free version? So they're going to have this anyway if you switch it on, right? Well, it's on by default, but you can say it's not on by default. When do you actually give them a paid for license? And that's going to be the tricky point to figure out, when do you actually give them a paid for license? Because you don't need a paid for license to consume agents anyway. I can build agents with the necessary prerequisite licenses. I can have a capacity license at $200 for 25,000 messages a month. And I can switch that on, and I can build agents, and I can make agents available to users with the free chat experience, not the M365 Copilot license. So there's also a balancing act that you've got to figure out there, because this interface can actually do things. I've got some of the create functions, I've got the pages, and I've got conversations that I can use. And the pages is just a loop workspace, which you get with your license anyway, right? You'll notice there's some other features that's not available here. The user that I've used to log in here is a global admin. That's why that admin button is there. That's the only thing that you won't see with a normal licensed user. But I've got the chat experience. I can view agents that's available to me. And you can actually see Learning Coach and the ones that Microsoft have been giving out for free. The skills one, it says Frontier. Is it really Frontier? It's maybe Bleeding Edge as a platform, but it's a free agent that you can actually use. And because I have an M360, it's a global administrator, this agent also shows up. So this is very close to what you would normally get with a paid for license. So coming back to the settings to switch these things on. We looked at data access, agents, using other large language models. And I'm assuming
that's the Anthropic.
There we go. Yes.
There we go.
So
yeah.
You can switch it on. You'll notice I haven't, because I don't know what this data boundary looks like. Services. Services operate outside of Microsoft. There we go. Qualified. Microsoft will not be held responsible for you using Anthropic's Claude on the back end from an LLM perspective if you want to switch it up, right? It's literally saying there, hey, well, plausible deniability. You have the power. And then obviously Copilot and some more Copilot stuff. So from a web search perspective, when we look at switching this on, so do you want to enable web search? Like you see in and in this case, it's going to be only for, where you can toggle between the two, for the M3, well, if it's a licensed user, it's a free user. So you can switch that on. So it can collate both doing a search from the web as well as doing a search local. And I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. So you do have some data access controls, and that's a little bit more than just the Copilot chat stuff. Image generation, Copilot in Teams. So if I had to open up Teams, is this my desktop? Whose desktop is this? I'll show you in the other one. And then you've got some other settings here. A custom dictionary. Nobody cares about a custom dictionary unless you really want to work with custom dictionaries. Even for search custom dictionaries. I don't know why it's still here. But if we click on it, you can upload a thesaurus. You might be, Jackie is on the call. You might be working in the pharmaceutical space, right? Oh, I'm going to say it, big pharma a few times just for the PTSD. But, you know, you can actually upload a thesaurus of ICD-10 codes. Yeah, and then it will have contextualization around ICD-10 codes. For those in South Africa, ICD-10 codes, when you claim from your medical aid, there's an ICD-10 code and there's a rate associated with it. If it's 100%, 200%, or up to 500% medical aid rates. Right? An ICD-10 code. That's the coding system that they use for all of these things. So I could upload a custom dictionary or thesaurus. But you know, you can work with all of that, and you can add that for more contextualization if there's specific things that you want to look at. Bye, Karika. Chat to you soon. All right. So let's have a look at what the paid for version of this experience actually does. And I'm going to go back to this one. Okay. So let's go 25,000, not 25,000, 25 Copilot licenses. Very much the same way. You'll notice there's a whole bunch of other things that's also available, like Copilot Frontier. I'm allowing Copilot Frontier features to be available to all groups of users. It's the same, I mean, this is switched on anyway, and the same would be with the agent store so that I can get access to that. But it's switched on for all users with an M365 Copilot license. Where was the other one? What did I deploy? Oh, that's in the agent side. Data access, you've got more data security and compliance things that you can actually flip a switch to and actually start looking at how do you provision data security posture management for AI. It's a how-to guide. Click a button, run the tools, and it will literally configure this for yourself. The one thing I don't want you to click on, and if it's not in here, no, it was on the other side, because that's going to cost you a stupid amount of money. Whatever you do, don't switch this on. Don't, because it's stupidly expensive, and they talk about security compute units and you need 3 for it to work well. I'm not even going to log in. Okay, so data access, more things, recommendations, and a few others around licensing. And these things, Jason, I'm not sure if this switches on because I have an ESKU.
No, so all of these settings will be on for like student licenses, so the ASQs,
If I buy a Copilot license, though,
even if you don't buy a Copilot license, they'll be there.
It's not there in the other tenant.
And then when you buy the first license, then I think it activates all the agents and everything else. But the base Copilot chat settings will be there, and then the agent settings will also be there. It'll just be the connectors and the other pieces that come with. This is
a fresh tenant that doesn't have a Copilot license in it.
Yeah.
And this is a business premium tenant. So I don't know if you have to I can buy a Copilot license for this tenant and it switches on the enterprise side of things, right? So if you look at that one and if you look at, so what's that? User access. If we go to user access here, much more than what's available there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the trigger is or the switch for you to get all these other things. I mean, there's diagnostic logs.
Diagnostic logs, and we only saw a dictionary in the other one, yeah.
Yeah. There's more things, yeah. I mean, the agents one is there, but there's more things, yeah. This data security and compliance one, people skills. I think that's license dependent as well. And this is probably also license dependent. Now, when we look at the chat, you notice there's not much. Yeah, pin the Copilot chat. Boom, everyone's got chat. Done, right? And it will become available, the free version, inside of your app of choice, right? So Word, it's going to say standard and not premium Copilot features. Where did I open that one up? No, was it this one? I think it was this one. Click on that again.
So one of the things we found, even just like amongst ourselves, is like people build natural habits to the tools that they use frequently, right? So like at the bottom of your desktop, you've got Outlook, Teams, and a couple of the browsers as an example, right? Those are because you use those in the flow of your work. So for me, like the pinning of the chat almost reinforces that user behavior or that habit to say like, this is the Copilot, or this is the generative AI tool that you should be using for work. Even though it's surfacing in all the different apps, it's still like pinning it to make it a reminder to, like, as you're writing out the email, now you can switch to the Copilot to help you rewrite a section, or as you're doing a report, you can now do some research on the side. So that was for us like a big change, and especially like removing the personal version so that we had the right Copilot, because like in some of the early access programs, you do all this adoption and change, you do all this work, and then like you just don't see the usage, and then you realize, oh, they were using all of the prompts on the personal version, So yeah, that's what we found with just like putting the chat, like why it was so important, and how it kind of reminded people to then go and use that tool.
Look, hold on 2 seconds. Again, it comes back to the original conversation we've had for the longest time over the ages, when to use what, right? I do think that from a governance perspective, you need to decide what you're going to remove from the user's experience. And then also you need to kind of coerce them to start thinking about this new way of working, because it's exactly that. I build my own slides, except for today I let Copilot build slides. I like building slides. I use Perplexity to come up with the structure of my slides. So I'll show you, give you a perfect example. Do I have Perplexity open here still? There. Yeah, here's a perfect example, right? Yeah, please create the slides, right? Came up with everything that I wanted it to come up with, and I said, please create the slides. So the way I build slides is much faster today because I don't have to think about these things. As long as I'm an expert around talking about it, I'm not gaming the system. But yeah, slide 3, what is Copilot? I would take this and I'd put it into, cool slides. Do I have cool slides?
Yeah, we saw your amazing slides on your last session. Like richer visuals and...
let me see if I can find one. I don't think that's in this user, no. But I use the chat part of AI to help me reduce my time to value. That's the big thing, right? And, as much as exactly what you said, I pin this. This is a desktop that I'm remoted into. It's another little PC I have in my lab, and I'm just remoting into it because I can demo these sorts of things, right? Without having to worry about the user context, or it's my desktop, it's my work environment. This is literally an i3 NUC that's sitting in my lab, and I use this to demo things. I typically don't show Perplexity, so I'm going to close that. And you're not going to see about my 3D printing. I'm not going to talk about that either. But it's really one part we can switch these features on, even for users that if you don't want to spend the $30 per user per month, I still think it's worth the money. I think it's $20 for my Perplexity Pro license. In the flow of work and working inside of Microsoft 365, I think that the $30 per user per month is not an exorbitant amount of money for all the enterprise features that you get out of generative AI inside of Microsoft 365. And you get all the cool agent stuff, right? I can't remember if we did a demo around the researcher agent, where I asked it to go, act as a geologist. You're a grape farmer and you want to grow red grapes for Merlot or red wine in the Western Cape. And 3-4 minutes later, 12,600 words in a report for me. That is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. So one part tech that
What
you can
about
switch.
red wine?
I'm
Did
so
you say
glad I'm
about red
sharing
wine?
my screen and my face is really small in what you're looking at right now for the utter disdain um, towards that comment. So,
Oh,
but yes, you can use the researcher agent to find the best place to grow red grapes, Tracy. And then you'll have to ask the analyst agent to go and find out how do you build a winery, and then you can do the researcher to find what it's going to take to build the winery, and then you can grow your own grapes and you can make your own wine. Does that answer your question, Tracy? She's already left the chat. Anyhow, coming back. So let's just round up. And I've got one more story to tell you about my experiences with Copilot last week. Oh, she's back. She's back. Deciding when to switch on chat for everyone and when to give them a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. That's really the crux of the matter where we are today. I think that because it's on by default, you need to at least inform them that this new chat experience, not just the one that Microsoft said we should be looking at, which now lives in a browser, that one, right? Because that's the one that started all of this. Hey, we've got a new chat experience. You can now experience the GPT-like features of ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and all of these open web UI attached to a large language model experience that we've all come to know and love over the last 2 years since ChatGPT became a household favorite, right? You now have that same functionality free of charge from Microsoft for all your users, number one. Number two, they've now decided to give you some contextualization in using the GPT-like experience inside of your favorite applications, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Summarize this document for me. It's the watered-down version of the full-blown Copilot experience, but it is available to all your users. Remember, when Microsoft launched Windows 8, the Metro interface, right? And they said the same UI across multiple experiences. When Windows Phone was still a thing, very close to my heart, you got that tiled interface, you got the tiled interface on the desktop, and you got that same tiled interface on Xbox. They're doing the same thing here. Take the technology to where people are the most comfortable working in. They don't have to come into this chat experience to say, hey, here's an email, summarize this. Or, now we can take the chat experience into Outlook, or the chat experience into Word, or the chat experience into PowerPoint, or the chat experience into Excel. And you can ask it rudimentary questions about the data that you're exposing it to. So start small, right? Your barrier to entry to jumping to that $30 license, it's either going to say, hey, we are happy just using the GPT-like experience inside of our favorite apps, or can we get more power, baby, to do more things? It's like, a naturally aspirated engine versus a turbocharger or a supercharger added to it. So you're going to supercharge your GPT experience when giving them that full-blown license. And you're going to have to go to IT, or if you are IT, you're going to have to switch those things on in the Copilot Admin Center that lives inside of the M365 Admin Center. And it kind of reads like you click a button and it does things. It literally does. The other thing that I wanted to show you, now remember those agents are all switched on, right? The freemium version. So you get those and then you get the cool agent stuff. And we sort of moving on from chat to the stuff we want to explore in season 2 of Copilot Zero to Hero. Now, for those that wanted to know about the app builder, I can go search for that agent. Yeah. What is going on? What account is this? It's the right account. Clear that. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now. Agents. Analyst. Okay, that's there. I have an admin rights. App. Oh.
Try under data access settings and then for Frontier.
What am I missing?
I think you go settings and then
No, it's, yeah, that's just to switch on Frontier features. But to deploy,
and then agents.
no, it's not that. That's just going to open up the agent store, and that's going to take it to a support page. How did they pull it? Because the other Frontier agents are here. Here's the researcher agent, which was obviously updated. Did they pull it? It's called App Builder, right? There.
Oh, I got a good one for you. Can you build us a Copilot 0 to Hero homework app?
Could possibly do that, but that's Karika's job. She's not here, so I can throw her under the bus. Why is it not here? What am I missing? Should be here. Why is it not here? That's bizarre. Anyhow, so what you're supposed to do is literally go in here, and I've got screen grabs of all of this. Media. Hold on. I'm going to look at my own notes. I literally posted about all of this in a chat. Please humor me for 2 minutes. So if you wanted to switch on the App Builder agent, for those that have Frontier features enabled, team your coupon, my chat trouble ahead. I'm missing. It's supposed to show up here and you're supposed to deploy it. And that's how, was it there? Where the hell? Agents? No, man, it should be here. There's a guide to deploying the app agent. So anyway, I did that. And what happens is you can now give it instructions. And now App Builder is going to go off and it's going to dream up my web app. Coupon. All this is thinking. Oh, it was in the other chat. Hold on. Yep, I was right. So you go to the Agents tab, you search for App Builder. A screen's going to pop up that says not deployed. You then hit the deploy button and you select what users you deploy it to. And then it will show up in the Agent Store if you want to switch this on. But right now, it's not here. So have they pulled it from being deployed? Because the EU doesn't have capacity for spinning up virtual machines. I've seen that. Okay. All right, it's almost done. Now, this is massively scary for me, where you are giving end users the ability to build applications inside of your environment, because it's literally going to build an application. So let's see if it finishes. Obviously, write a proper prompt. Don't do what I did that just said, please build me a timesheet application that logs time per user per project. Don't do that. Let's see what it actually stitches together. This also doesn't mean that you shouldn't hire developers to build applications for you inside of your organization, because some super users got access to the app builder and has built an app as soon as it's gonna spit the app out within a couple of minutes, right? The other converse side, where you're going to have a C-level with all these enterprise features switched on, and you have deployed the app builder agent to the C-level. And in a previous life, he or she was a consultant that spent 15 years working in the consultant industry, now moved to the other side, and now they think they can use this to build applications inside of your environment. It doesn't even deploy it to Azure. It actually deploys it. Let me see if I can go there. Make.
Oh, whilst you're putting that up, it's quite interesting because this feels a bit like shiny object syndrome, where you chase the next silver bullet. But there's also been a lot of AI hackathons and promptathons and things that we've been attending, and they almost always jump to building an app using Replit or App Builder or whatever low code, no code kind of platform to build something else. But to productionize that is so difficult. It's like a whole nother length to go. You can maybe build it as a concept, but I don't see how you're going to take these apps
to market. So
to market, 100%.
I've built 2 other apps. You can see there it's the A24. I like the color grading in A24 movies. I think it's great. So I literally said use that as inspiration, because I've used other AI tools where I'm creating images and it will use A24 as the imagery standard, the grading and all of those things. So what it actually does is, when this thing stops thinking, what it actually does is, this is this is bizarre. The minute you build your first app, it goes and it spins up a separate environment in Power Platform, right? There it is. And the only way to see what it's actually built is to click on the ellipsis here, the 3 buttons, whatever you got. It's a horizontal ellipsis or vertical ellipsis, not horizontal ellipsis. And there's those 2 apps that have been built. There are URLs to these things. You can't administer it from here. It does nothing, right? So it's just sort of locked down. You can't touch it. This thing going to finish anytime soon. From a navigation perspective, I don't know if I can jump out of this. I want to go back to that list. But let's see if I can duplicate this and go back to... that one. And is it going to create a third one here? Because it literally writes the code and it provisions this ecosystem to host everything in it. But if I go and I say edit, it should pop up that screen again. Okay. So here's this application that it's built. there's a URL to it, right? So here's the preview URL that I can take, and I can just move out of the way, please. I can paste it and see if it'll actually render. And I think this one's broken. It just sits there spinny, spinny, spinny. But, you know, is it this one or the other one? Let me go back there. I want to see if it's still embedded, the other one, this one. Let's see if I can edit it. So literally what I did was, and I wonder if it's got the history. It hasn't got the history either. But what it decided to do, I said, show me the code, because this one's also broken. But what it did, is it going to... It's still thinking. It's still thinking. So, yeah, as much as it says it works, kind of doesn't. So, and they pulls it from the agent store. This is... So, I'm going to close this. Will it close? Go back. Does that one work? Play. What does the play button do? Okay, now it's rendering something. Okay, so it's kind of built. This is what I built, but let's see if the other one will work. Can I play the other one?
But this is like leading edge to a whole new level, right? Hey,
this is just the most bizarre thing, right? Navigation
like
doesn't work.
1 week old or something.
Yeah. And when I said to it, show me the code, let me find that image. I actually posted it on LinkedIn. Let me just go to Facebook. Save image as, save. Okay, you've seen that interface, right? That app builder interface. This is the chat after me opening up that app that I just showed you now. I said, show me the code. That's all I said to it. It then went and said, adding a new section with video embedded to the homepage. And then it updated some card with the background image. It decided that it was going to go get the Rickroll video. And it Rickrolled me because it embedded this into that website that I built because I asked it to show me the code. So this got me very excited because agent or app builder has a humorous side, because was it going to show me the code? I wanted to see the code. No, it's going to Rickroll me and add Rick Astley YouTube video and embed that into this page, which I'm trying to find. And it seems like it's decided that it didn't do it. Is this thing still doing something? Oh, there we go. Okay. Chronos track. Okay. Chronos track. That's what it called it. Let's see what it looks like. If this works, I'll be fascinated. There we go. Select a user, select a project, stick hours in. Okay, well, there's Bob Smith, website design. 10 notes. Wow. Save. Does it save it? Did it put it somewhere? 20. Save. And then it's given me some sort of tab here, dashboard projects. Due to build fixes. Export to CSV, start date, today, end date, today, Export. Oh, wow. It's actually captured the data. That is fascinating. It's literally, I don't know where it put the data. It's save entry, where did it write to it? But it's stored the data somewhere, and you can now, it says, you can now access it by the provided preview URL. Is that this one? And all data, check this out. It creates, come on, open. It goes and it creates a SharePoint site on the back of this, right? Because it needs to store the stuff somewhere, right? So now it's got a list. And we still don't know. There's the two entries I just wrote. So it deploys a Power App in some weird environment, right? Like Power Pages, maybe, I don't know. Right? It stores the data in SharePoint lists. There we go, right? And somehow Power Automate's backend environment, that app, reads information stored. Can I add a new item? Oh, this is bizarre. So somehow it's taken SharePoint, Power Platform, and glued it together and created a custom front end for that. If this is the future of app building inside of Microsoft 365, I'm a little scared. All right, so just to recap, chat's great, switch it on for everyone. M365 Copilot chat, if they get bored of working inside of the free version of chat, give them a license. Understand what you need to do technically to switch these things on. Not much, because it's them on by default. Understand the use cases. Someone wants to summarize a document that comes again back to understanding the use case for them getting the full fidelity license. But when we look at the experience that they will get, it's super simple, and they're going to get the chat experience inside of, not so much this, if I go back there. This is one chat experience. We're now bringing the chat experience. It's just going to not say Premium Copilot features inside of the applications, and let them have a go at what these things do. However, please, please, please speak to your marketing teams or send out some formal type of update, some form of communication out to your organization to say that these things are now being switched on and communicated, at least so that they know that it's there without them clicking buttons and breaking things. Not that you can break it, but you don't want to have you don't want them to have a bad experience with a tool that's just been switched on by default. And I think that's it from me. Outside of the weird and wonderful app builder thing that's now available to you, and understand how all of that works. From an agentic perspective, frontier firm stuff, this is all bleeding edge. Don't expect it to work in V1 that you've now got exposed to. Also, coming back to, you really, really, really need to look at the first couple of sessions that we covered in Copilot 0 to Hero. There's business and end user and technical readiness for rolling out any form of generative AI to your organization. And you've seen how easy this was. I've got a tenant that's not even 10 days old that's already got these things switched on. So depending on how IT does release management when it comes to annual, semi-annual, and all the channel stuff, is your IT team living inside of the M365 admin center? Because before Copilot, it wasn't there, and then it just showed up. Vitally important that you understand what this world actually looks like when it comes to, and more so now than ever before. When we started this journey 18 weeks ago, we were like, you got to switch it on. No, it's on by default. So how do you assist your users with utilizing the right tools at the right time? How do you start defining these pathways for new ways of working, where the GPT reduces their time to value free or paid for version? And how do you stop shadow AI from happening inside of your organization? For me, that's what I care about the most. Vitally important. You're giving AI for the masses, showing up in Word, PowerPoint, Excel. It's there. You need to decide how do you empower your users to use the technology efficiently, effectively, and in a responsible manner. And that's it from me. I will be uploading that powerful slide deck that it generated. And I can actually say generated by AI because I don't mind saying it because it wasn't the greatest thing. We'll upload that to the GitHub repo. Any questions? I don't know what's happening in the chat. I haven't been monitoring the chat. Renaissance, is that? There's the my Windows 8 experience. I still have a Surface RT over there that only runs that experience.
It's mainly just chat messages going back and forth, but were there weren't any questions. Yeah, I think you did super well. Thank you. Like going from 0 to your slides being built in 5 seconds and then presenting them. I know you did a lot of prep behind the scenes, but it's cool to see like that it covers, let's say, 45% of the content, right?
Look, it's done really well. And I also wanted to bench the GPT behind it on knowing about its own product, right? Which was important for me. I mean, I live in the Perplexity world. I've been using Perplexity since the beginning of the year. It's changed the way I build slide decks. Not build slide decks, but curate content. It's my enterprise search engine. Literally, that's what it is. For me to get reference articles, things that I would Google, right? Now I can use generative AI to curate information that would take me much longer to curate. Also do explaining things. I use it for, I work with PnP PowerShell from a provisioning perspective. I now will never build SharePoint information architecture manually, ever again, ever. And I've got 2 options to do it. I can do it straight out of a CSV with no templatization. It's beautiful. Hub site, child site, content types, all of those things. Why? Because I spent a couple of days getting Perplexity to build me PnP PowerShell scripts for it. It's beautiful, right? So me as a consultant, talking to customers about information architecture, when to use what, and all those cool things, while I want to apply the security boundaries like sensitivity labels around information protection, retention labels for data lifecycle management, all of those things I now can automate because I'm using AI to help me. I'm not going to spend 2-3 weeks writing scripts. It's going to generate scripts that I can test immediately and say, this is not right, tweak that, add this. For me, that is my superpower now, being able to use AI in that way, where it would take me much longer to write PnP PowerShell and get the references. What you need to do is take the same mindset or headspace that I'm in and introduce those concepts to every avenue of business to see if just generative AI is going to add value to them where they need an explainer or a summarization. And there's so many different things that it does, like creating an audio transcript of a document and it will play it back in podcast style for you, which is amazing. Comparing 2 documents, but to find the use case and then do a technology mapping to see, is this just generative AI? Do we build an agent, or we do build multiple agents, or do we actually go full pro code and end up in Foundry in Azure with a Quen or a DeepSeek model because you want to do crazy reasoning and you can build that AI factory stuff. All right. Oh, and that's it from me. I hope you liked this little journey. I hope it was a journey of discovery that I managed to take everyone on. There was a lot that I was showing, a lot of places that I click, and it's inherently my problem. I click too much. But I hope that this gives you some sort of bird's eye view into the different experiences that you have between the free version of Copilot Chat and the paid for version of Copilot Chat, and how those tools sit inside of your app stack, your M365 app stack. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and I think we're going to wind up and end this call. And stick around, copilot0to-hero.co.za. In the upcoming weeks, we'll be updating the site to show you season 2 of Copilot 0 to Hero, now with more agents, and we'll build out probably another 10 sessions that will run over 20 weeks to get you excited about all things agentic AI.
I totally agree. I could do another 20-week round.
As long as you have Prosecco, it works.
Azico Prosecco.
Yes. Okay, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening, wherever you're dialing in from, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks for the conclusion, the cliffhanger episode of Copilot 0 to Hero. We'll chat to everyone soon. Thanks a lot for sticking around. Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.